Hello, all you lovely people, and welcome back to Viacondia's Farmstead. It's been a bit of a week here on the farmstead, which is why this post is considerably later than usual, and there hasn't been a whole lot of time for additional projects, but one or two things are in the works, which we'll be sharing with you in this video. Also, we have some sad news to share with you. Unfortunately, in our attempts to move the 5 little piggies to a new paddock, one of them ate something and didn't live to tell about the experience, so we're down to 4 little piggies.
As you can see, the other four are all doing well and growing at a exciting rate.
Also, the 2 Colbrick pigs, in a experience very peculiar to their breed, decided to become quite aggressive. While I can handle a bit of attitude, a bit of talking back, and I actually like some personality in my animals, I do not like it when one of my animals tries to bite or injure one of us. We have a solid rule against that, so the 2 Colbrick pigs have been rehomed and you won't be seeing them anymore. It was a difficult decision, despite the rule against aggressive animals, because for the most part they were actually lovely pigs. But as you can see in the clip, which I'll shove in here, the one pig in particular decided to chase us whenever we came out the door. One morning we had to remove her from the vegetable garden, and she just snapped. Decided that every time she sees us, she's going to start chasing us and try and bite us. Which was actually one of the reasons we moved all the pigs to the other paddock, which is next to the house on this side behind me, there, bordering the neighbor's property. Yeah, we decided to move them in there to see if maybe they'd be happier there, since they'd been trying to push other fences as well, but they just weren't happy anywhere, and every time you tried to move them, they got a bit aggressive. So we've rehomed them to a neighbor who has a sounder of Colbricks, so they can be used as breeding animals. He's fully set up with a huge electric fence setup, so that won't be a problem. Everything we could try, it just wasn't enough. It's corrugated. I watched them climb through barbed wire. Those pigs were not planning on being contained, and I just simply cannot afford the type of electric fence that it would take to keep them in one place at this point. We'll be training these to a small electric fence somewhere in the near future, but yeah, so that just wasn't working for us. It's simply a case of decisions. They rampaged through the vegetable garden. We're hoping that some of the seeds that hadn't come up yet will still come up, so we'll still get a good crop from there, and we're kind of depending on that, to be honest, because that's pretty much how this works. The budget is limited. We push funds into planting the vegetables so you have vegetables to eat, you know? But anyway, we've watched a lot of videos from Tapper North Farm, and they often build brushwood fences. And since we have a lot of thorn trees on the property that need pruning and bringing into shape so we can use large areas of the land as silver pasture or something along those lines, maybe part of a food forest, we've decided to start building our own variation on the brushwood fences. So we've been cutting off the lower branches of the thorn trees as we prepare the first part for our berms and swales, since we'll be taking a more permaculture type approach to our larger vegetable garden and fruit orchards and such. But for now, we're busy stacking up all of these thorn bushes and thorn branches to make as solid a fence as possible, both to keep predators like caracal, which we found out we have on the property at times, out, and other animals that we're raising in here, in whatever they might be at the time. Thanks to the series of odd and unanticipated events happening the last few weeks, none of you have met these little guys yet. These are our young Coturnix quail. They hatched a little over 2 weeks ago, probably close to 3 now, and they're growing extremely well. I will be moving them to a better cage soon. This is just their brooder setup, because these things, honestly, they are very difficult to keep alive sometimes. They manage to find their way into every nook and cranny, and even end up under water bowls and stuff. So a small cage helps to minimize the risk of deceased quails. We'll be keeping these for eggs and meat, and I'm hoping to start a breeding project soon where we focus on the white quails. This little guy's still yellow because it's doesn't really have much of its feathers, but yeah, hoping to start a breeding project to produce some large enough white quails for meat and eggs. We lost a fair few of the broilers early on, by which I mean a lot. But the remaining ones are doing well, and while I think we'll have a fair few when slaughter time rolls around, I don't think we'll be doing these again. We have them on big waterers now and huge food bowls just to make the work easier. But I think when we're done with this batch, we might consider, we're looking into crosses that work well for meat production. So we'll start looking into those in all earnestness and maybe decide to do those instead. Not long after we arrived on the farm, we ordered a hatchery set from Mellowchicks, and it finally arrived last week. Here they are. This is the hatcher, which is filled with black hatching baskets and doesn't have any egg rollers, but the humidity is also regulating, and so is the temperature. And this huge creation is the incubator. We can hatch, I think, by using the incubator and the hatcher, we can hatch something like 1,056 eggs per week.
The semi-destruction of the vegetable garden also prompted us to start preparing the ground for our first permaculture-styled garden featuring proper berms and swales. Here you can see us measuring and marking the areas where we'll be putting the first berms and swales for our upcoming garden. Here you can see the semi-straight lines of PVC piping that we already had at hand, so we figured we'd use them as a sort of white flag, no truce intended, and they demarcate the first 2 beds and the location of the first swale, which will be mulching and might even plant with something like sweet potatoes to act as a living mulch. Later that same day we started clearing some of the areas, removing the grass that was in our way, of course digging up rocks and that kind of thing. And while it's not a major difference, we only spent about an hour and a half out there, so we're quite pleased with the results.
As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's been a bit of a week, and thanks to the intense stage 6 load shedding, it's taken a bit longer to put this together than I would have liked, but thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you have had a lovely time joining us on our journey. Remember that any journey, including homesteading, is a journey You take one step after the other. Not all of the time is it pleasant, not all of the time is it great, but not all of the time is horrible either. The journey only stops when you stop moving, so keep moving and you'll reach your destination. If you've liked this video, please thumbs up and subscribe, and click that bell icon so you can get notified of upcoming videos and stay on track with what's happening. Until next time, vaya con Dios.